Well, Tom, I'll put you on the spot. Did you like Kill List when you saw it?
I did very much.
Good.
Yeah. My God, Kill List is a classic now.
It's
a British
fantastic.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
It is.
It's terrifying. It's deeply. It's also, Ben can't say this. I think it's deeply, deeply English. It's about. It has in its DNA the sort of in pop culture, in literature, in folklore, the woods have always been a very, very scary place. That don't go into the woods. There are terrible things you'll find in the woods, and it's really as part of like the ancient culture of England, and Kill List really taps into that in a very new way.
Well, High Rise kind of has it's a flip side because it's all in a building almost, but that's terrifying and folklorish in its own right. What attracted you to this? I mean, I assume you read the book years ago, but it's a project that's been trying to get off the ground for years and years with this producer, Jeremy Thomas. Why was this the right time for it to get off the ground?
Yeah, I'd read it when I was a kid and really liked it, and I'd but it meant a very different thing to me when I read it when I was 16 than when I read it when I was 40, when I came back to it. And unfortunately, when I read it the first time, it was like a predictive fiction. It might happen, it was enjoyable for that reason, because it's kind of, I love all that sci-fi stuff, and I like, Mad Max and all this kind of stuff. But then when I reread it, it was kind of depressing because it would come true, So it was like a lot of it, you could actually look in the newspapers and bounce backwards and forwards between the newspapers and the book, and he predicted it, which is kind of, I guess, one of the upsides of writing predictive fiction. Eventually it will, if you got it right, will come to pass, which is kind of depressing when you look at the rest of the books he's written. If they're going to come true as well, we're royally screwed. But yeah.
Which one do you think it'll be? Which is the next one?
Don't say Crash.
Drought. But yeah, so that's when I started thinking, well, this is a book that's written in 1975, but it feels like it was written last week, and now's the time. And I just I thought, well, why? It's weird that it hasn't been tackled yet. Why is that? And I didn't have all the grief that Jeremy had over the years trying to put it together. I had no knowledge of any of that stuff, so I went into it rather naively and went, there's a book. Let's find out who owns it. Which led me to Jeremy Thomas's door.
It's funny because I was going to ask you the same thing. I mean, the themes of our dependence on technology and consumer products, he tapped into that then, but as Ben said, it's so pertinent now. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Does it resonate just as much today or more?
Yes, I do. I think so. I think there's something sinister that he's suggesting about a building or a piece of architecture or something man-made as a substitute for nature. That actually something we've created out of materials. It's the arrogance that you can separate yourself from the world, and think that might be healthy, and what that does to your psyche, I think, that's the experiment.
I was thinking about it a bit when I was travelling across America beyond this press tour, and thinking the massive difference that the electronic wires made to how life in America was. That that as soon as you could kind of start tapping on the thing and warning people that there was criminals going across borders and things like that, and how it completely changed life here and in Europe and everywhere. And in the same way that social media now changes, in the big project of America, you could go from town to town and no one would know who you were. But now, anywhere in the world you try and start up again, they just have to look up your name and they go, "Oh, is that guy? Oh my God!"
Yeah.
So it's everything becomes smaller and smaller, and you get less and less chances almost at life.
Yeah.
But also that has an effect on the way you interact, and if you're shut in, as it were, if the community is small, how does that change your interactions with people?
Yeah.
And the speed that they develop at?